Well, everybody, the world has not ended yet, and we're glad to have you here with us while we're still around. Welcome back to the Road to Providence, episode number 18. We're glad to have you all with us. Today, we've got some wonderful guests, but of course, I've got my co-host, as always, Sam. Sam, how are you doing, first off?
Hi, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm hearing
No.
very weird sounds right now. So I'm going to. Can you
I
hear
mean,
me?
I can hear you, man, so hopefully this works out. Yeah. Sam, are you there? And he's gone. All right, let's hope Sam joins us soon, hopefully. But today we're joined by two great guests. We got Eric from Rebel with a Cause and Jose Galison of No Way Jose. How are you guys doing today?
Wonderfully.
If I was doing any better, I would be Jose.
It's accurate.
I mean, he's in a children's bedroom, so I don't know how you should necessarily how high of a standard that is.
Oh,
Hey.
here we go.
And Sam is back.
That's Sam where
Everything's
he
working.
joins
I don't
us.
know what that was very weird.
No, you see, Dark Tom Woods changing up the tactics again.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. Glad to have you here. What a world we live in, isn't it, guys?
It is. Indeed.
Quite.
Yeah. So while we were just discussing this a little bit before the show began, but I kind of wanted to touch on the fact that Jose, you finally followed through on Tower Power Hour. You drank the cat milk. What was the experience like?
I mean, you can watch the show and find out, but I mean, I guess it kind of burst the bubble. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good. I mean, like, I don't know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be, but it also wasn't really that bad. Like, it's not something I'd throw up from. I could drink a whole cup and I'd just be like, I kind of equated it. It tasted kind of like someone had like 2% milk that had a little bit of soy in it, and they left it sitting out for like a day or two. Like, that's like, and then you drank it and you're like, well, this milk tastes kind of weird. You're like, well, I'm thirsty, so screw it. I'll drink it, like, but like there's something off.
I've heard it gives you big guns. Is that true?
No. I don't really have that big of guns. No.
I drank bird spit one time. So like the Chinese restaurant. Yeah. So some Chinese restaurant was really good friend with a friend of mine. And anyway, they gave them like a jar of bird spit. Apparently they climb like mountains and stuff. And from these like birds' nests or something, pour like this bird spit in. It's like a Chinese delicacy or something.
Oh,
but right. Yeah, I drank it.
At least that was the story you were given. So who knows
what
it's actually
true.
Oh Lord, have you seen that meme where some guy orders the really spicy sushi and they put spicy, and there's a note that says make his asshole burn?
Doesn't work on me. I'm a redhead. I enjoy spice.
Well, I mean, I guess we got two of us for St. Patrick's Day.
Yep.
Jose, are you Irish or are you just Mexican? Like your name seems to indicate.
Argentinian.
Argentinian.
My grandpa spoke German, but
yeah,
you gotta adapt with the times. I don't know. I think there's like either Irish or Scottish in there, but at the same time, I also just don't care. I don't know. Like ethnicity
it's
kind of like
something
that matters to
your
me.
astrological sign.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I don't know. Never something that really mattered. Obviously, I have that one family member that says we have Indian in us. I don't know if it's true. I guess that's good enough to get a college job. I don't know.
Like what kind of Indian? Do you mean like the American Indian, or do you mean like the Indian that has like this little recording button on the forehead?
Supposedly, there's a Cherokee in my family. I don't know. That was just some shit my grandma said in her old age.
So feather, not dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I don't trust those Indian women. They're always recording.
Dude, they'll cuss you out too, man.
I just Googled the bird spit thing because I was curious, and yeah, it is a thing.
It is a thing? Wow.
It is a thing.
Wow.
Okay,
but
so
yeah,
I'm the racist asshole. Gotcha.
Yeah, apparently the birds make their nests with edible saliva and weird stuff. So I mean, totally normal stuff. I love the Chinese.
Yeah, I mean they'll ground up deer antlers, and that they say that gives you an erection. So there you go.
Yeah, industrious
good
people.
Oh Lord. All right. So guys, I think if we want to touch on, like, just to kind of start with the absurdity of the world, I kind of want to touch on this grand video. Prayers from Ukraine. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this.
Actually, I haven't seen this yet, so this should be fun.
We played on Tower Power, yeah.
That's great. I love this video. All right.
I'm the proof when I'm in the booth, spitting on the mic. Anti-vax. Putin hates all of them blacks. Putin is a bad racist. Put him in the ground, white or brown. And I'm in Plano town. And you know
Plano, Texas, of course.
I'm a pimp on a blimp. Unless a stack is shrimp. No, you can't stop my shine. I'm number 99. And you know I brand and shine. And you know I do it on the class. One more time, I'm teaching class. This is your whole class. Zelensky is a VIP.
You see this lady in the background just like trying to stop herself from laughing in the process. I'm amazed that they let him go on for so long during
But that's that guy's shtick, though. That he gets onto these things, and this is what he does.
I think they have to let him go on too. Like they have a certain amount of time they have to be able to speak.
Yeah, there's rules and stuff. Yeah,
go for it.
I want to see if he can. Like, I want to email him and see if he can come on our city council. That'd be hilarious. He probably
would. He's been on Tower Power before. Yeah. He did a live troll there. So.
Oh, I watched that.
And then who was that? Was that Portland, Oregon?
I don't remember. I think the Portland.
It was one of those northwestern states, I think. Yeah.
It was in Washington. I know that much for sure because I sent that video to my dad and he got a kick out of it. And then he saw him on Elijah Schaefer's show, You Are Here, where his cat was just walking around the studio jumping on people.
That's hilarious.
That guy's he's got a thing with his cat. But I guess
we all have a thing with our cats.
I can sympathize.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, that chick is never going to sit in that seat again because all of the upskirt shots right there.
No, you can't see nothing. But no, she was the best part of the video. Her in the background, she's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's finish this off strong here.
Ukraine and I go insane. Put a bullet in Putin's brain. You know that is the plan. I'm a Zelensky stan. I love you, Vladimir Zelensky. You are so smart. What's the smell? Did somebody fire? No way. What can you say? Vaccinate me straight or gay. I love you and I love to.
She's about to lose it back there.
And you got that sanitizer. And you know I got
sanitizer.
That Pfizer.
Oh no.
You know I stick it in my vein. Put a bullet in Putin's brain. Do it for the Ukraine. Before I go insane. Let me antibacterial my body at the party. Sipping Bacardi. You know the flow. And I am a pimp. Cause I am on the blimp. Eating lots of steak and shrimp. One more time, I'm 99. And you know I grind and shine. Gas prices way too high. Vladimir Putin needs to die. Gas prices way too high. Vladimir needs to die. I'm the truth.
She broke. She broke.
Take a picture. I'm a winner.
Oh, there goes the jacket.
For dinner, okay. I just want to say, I love you. We need to take out Vladimir Putin, like Lindsey Graham said. Thank you, Mayor Muns. I appreciate the time. Peace. God bless you all.
Yeah. So Alex Stein is moving up in the world. By God.
Plano, Texas, everybody. Plano, Texas.
Yeah. How far is that from you, man?
When I used to live in Dallas, that was like right down the road. You know.
Oh. Because I know I saw that Tom Woods tweet earlier today, which Michael Malice just quote tweeted, and he was talking about how it takes him 5 hours to get across Texas. Like, how do you people live like that? How?
Dude, everything's bigger in Texas. You're going to drive for the entire day if you go from Houston to El Paso.
Jeez.
That's just how that is.
What's a long drive across Minnesota too?
Yeah.
North to south.
From south to north. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Texas is huge altogether. I was stationed in multiple places there for a minute, like during my training for the military. But like, yeah, they were definitely different places, each place. But like, Texas is huge, so like, I know the difference between one side of Texas and the other could probably be no different than like one side of New England to the other, you know? So yeah.
And sometimes even if you live close to your work, it's still going to take you over an hour to get there.
I mean, that's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything's bigger in Texas, even the traffic jams.
That's right.
Yeah.
Really.
August is not a good time for your air conditioning in your car to ever go out too, by the way. Just bring a gallon of Gatorade.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, just like going to Texas, it sounds so appealing because it just sounds super nice down there, and everyone sounds super friendly. But the idea of driving 5 hours just to get anywhere in that state just it burns me inside. It's just like I cannot comprehend driving for 5 hours.
Yeah,
Well,
I kind of
it's the
trolled
same.
Tom Woods with that one. I just said personal helicopters.
I mean, at the same time, though, the distance from one place to another is 100 miles in Texas, 100 miles somewhere else. So you're still going to be roughly close to whatever you need. So it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, I guess if you have some weird, obsession with your state, sure. But, like, I don't know.
Yeah, move to Waco, then you're like right in the middle of everything.
Yeah,
Including
or
the fires.
downtown New York or something, maybe.
Go live in New
I wouldn't
York.
recommend that. But,
Yeah, don't live in New York.
It is funny how some of the New England
move
states,
right next to Michael Malice.
some of the New England states will drive through and it'll be like a blip. You're like, oh, we're in this state. Oh, we're out of the state. It is pretty wild.
That was
Hello,
like
New
Connecticut for
Jersey.
me. I was
Goodbye,
like
New
in and out
Jersey.
of it in like 25 minutes. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, isn't Connecticut is like it's not as small as Delaware, right?
No.
But it's like one of the ssmaller ones.
What?
Not
No,
as
Connecticut?
small, but if you're driving out from New York through Connecticut, it's going to take you less than 30 minutes to get through it.
Maybe I'm misremember which one Connecticut is because I'm like I feel like it's kind of beefier for New England state.
Yeah, I just remember it's like it's the one directly underneath Massachusetts, I believe. Like if you look at how it's Massachusetts kind of has like that little tail at the bottom right, well on the southeast. I think Connecticut's right underneath there. Or I might be wrong. I don't know. I've never been. Well, I've been to New England once, but not for very long.
Oh, you're right. It is one of the smaller ones. I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's one of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
Delaware, I think, is the
And
or
Bird
Delaware or
Spit
Rhode
Soup is the
Island is
thing.
the smallest. Yeah.
See, one of the things I really like about New Hampshire, especially, and I could go on about things I like about New Hampshire, but it seems like it's a really small state. So for like the drive that it would take me to get down to the Twin Cities, I could probably drive anywhere in New Hampshire and just go to wherever it is I feel the need to. Like if it was like Porkfest or something, I don't know, I could probably live in like Manchester or something like that, or one of the smaller towns, and then just drive up to Porkfest.
Yeah, one of the Free State Project, there's a lot of them that live in Keene, New Hampshire, because it's just kind of central to everything.
Nice.
Where? That's interesting. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that
I'm a fan of New Hampshire.
Free State Project has really been blowing up. It's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, especially if they're floating the idea that they are going to put it up for a vote to disaffiliate from the United States.
I thought that
That's pretty
already
cool.
got shot down and killed in committee. I heard about that. Yeah, Representative
Yeah, it did.
Sylvia, I believe his name is, because I wrote a piece about it.
It came
You
pretty
can
close.
get Elu Axelman on because he's up there in the Free State, and he does a lot of the reporting about it.
It wasn't just like a few votes away from being. But the
It's
thing
like
is, people do
13 votes.
people do need to remember it was a vote to have a like public vote on whether they should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ballot initiative, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
And it was
Which is
only
the
a
way
few
that you
votes
would-
away.
yeah,
pretty
that's
cool,
how
actually.
you would do it. Is you would just put it up for a vote every year for your state to stay in the union, and if they don't show up to vote, then it counts as a no vote. So
I mean, it'd get blown the fuck out either way. Like if it went to there, but it's progress. You know what I mean, in a certain
Yeah.
sense. So,
And there'd definitely be a civil war.
oh, of course,
I
all
don't
the time.
know. It really depends on it really depends on how it goes about. This is why I like to talk a lot about like soft secession. I think like if states just start kind of sort of behaving and don't, there's not any really real need to do everything super formal. Like for example, when it comes to like the marijuana stuffs, a lot of the states are just like, man, we're not doing that, and they're like, well, we're the federal government and we have purview over that. And you're like, okay, we're not doing it. So like, it wasn't even they ever were like formally like. I mean, I guess they sort of did, but it wasn't. I don't know. Like say with like Florida, New Hampshire, if they just start behaving like they're their own separate thing, they don't ever really need to do a formalized like, hereby declare we are no longer part of the United States, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, as long as you get
They
good
do have a
sheriffs that
few
are
issues with like
gonna start
credit cards
arresting
and stuff
FBI
like that, I
agents.
think, but
yeah, that's what you need.
outside of that.
Yo, just hear me out. We start doing citizens arrest of FBI agents. They kick down your door, you cuff them.
That'd be pretty sweet.
I
you
mean,
know.
I think at that point when they're kicking their door, cuffing is going to be a little hard to do. Like that's the equivalent of when you see those videos of people that teach you how to like fight it back against armed attackers. You know, like when the person with the knife, like just grab the knife and then
Yeah,
like it's probably not going to work out like that.
yeah.
Those
I
are
used to be
hilarious.
a big fan of the Detroit Threat Management Center because that guy was, he's like, yeah, we're doing the cops' jobs better, and then he gets on TikTok and he starts posting all of these self-defense videos, and they're all goofball, stupid McDojo crap, and you're like, oh no, I can't send anybody to your website anymore.
You see what you
Is
do.
he serious now? I can't tell if he's joking or not anymore. Like, did he kind of just figure out he's getting a lot of views and now it's just completely
Yeah,
making it up?
that's all it is. Is, clout.
Some of those are really funny. It's just like, oh, if they have a gun at you, you just move your head forward and move the gun away. And it's like, oh, whoa.
Oh.
And then do a
Like,
flying
yeah, you've got
arm
less than
bar.
a tenth of a second.
And stab, and you're in the clear.
Listen, all you need to do, they point the gun at you, you jump in the air, wrap your legs around their neck, and then pull them down backwards. Trust me,
It's
guys,
all-
it'll work.
I think you're supposed to do the same thing you do with like a bear sighting where you just play dead.
Just play dead.
Play
No,
dead.
it's like he watched a whole bunch of Bollywood action movies, and like all of the Bollywood actors, they do all of these crazy, insane stunts and everything.
I
it's
wonder
like,
if that
oh, I'm
would
taking
work
notes.
though. You know, someone tries to rob you and you just fall over and play dead. And then maybe fake a seizure or something.
Yeah.
Like the guy on Reed's show. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, he didn't fake that, did he?
No,
Oh,
that was
no.
like an actual. It was like an actual seizure.
I mean, given the context, I can totally construct an argument of why he would fake it. But I mean, I'll give him benefit of the doubt and say he didn't.
So, funny
But yeah,
story. I do door-to-door sales, and I met a lady. I forget what the phobia she called it, but she does not leave her house, and it was completely dark in the entire
Agoraphobia.
house.
Yeah, agoraphobia.
Yeah, she told me that like I would know what that was. Apparently, that's the thing.
It's the fear
But
of
yeah, she had-
agorists.
As an agorist, no. Yeah, so her windows were all blocked and everything. It was just kind of funny. But also.
Oh, we get to see that on Twitter every day because 9 times out of 10, if I see some stupid shit take, I go look at their bio and it's just lists their mental illnesses, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're just a crazy person.
Oh,
Fantastic.
okay, wow.
Neurodivergent. If you're ever using that word to me in a sentence and you're being serious about it, I'm going to laugh at you.
Yeah. Just about the only sentence I'll accept is that the word neurodivergent is retarded. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. But Twitter is simultaneously the greatest thing ever and also the worst thing ever at the same time because there's just so much cancer in it. But then you can find just these little chunks of gold on that website when people just act in the stupidest way possible. I don't know how to feel about it. And I spend too much time on Twitter now.
It's the best
I don't
thing ever and
spend
the worst
enough
thing
time
ever.
on Twitter. I don't tweet at all.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
How many people visit you a day, David? I always hear your doorbell going off.
Oh, that's just my brother going back and forth. I don't know what he is doing. That's not my doorbell. I'm at my workplace because I work here with my folks. So I got a little setup here, just at my desk here. No
okay.
Gotta love it.
back wall, bookshelf, desk, whatever. I got my little
It's just one
setup
of those
here.
situations where it's like you're really at home, but you're trying to play it up like, oh, these are just my roommates. Like that's what's going on here.
No, legitimately, this is where I work. Like,
Yeah, I don't live in my car.
I don't know why you guys would ever think I live in my car, but I totally don't.
Sam, when we were at that meetup, why'd you take all of the Jimmy Johns? Like, are you starving, bro?
No one was eating the Jimmy Johns, and so I'm like, well, I'm going to eat the Jimmy Johns. Who doesn't eat Jimmy Johns?
Oh man, if we have a little button that says "excuse alert," just to show it up underneath your face there.
Yeah, I usually, if no one's eating the food, I usually pig out on it. I'm just like, well, I guess this is my job, you know?
I don't know what.
And you
I
look
don't know-
real thin, so I automatically hate your living guts now. I even think about
Yeah.
looking at bread in the wrong way, and I gain 10 pounds. You bastard.
It happens.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Sam lives in his car. I wouldn't be surprised there.
I was actually thinking about it. Like, I just got this new car. I wonder if I could just fold the seat down. There's probably enough room I could just sleep in it.
I mean,
Probably could.
find you like a truck stop and you're good to go. Like if I didn't have a wife and
Yeah.
kids, like I wouldn't care. Like
Yeah,
sounds
like
a lot
man,
cheaper.
man, find yourself some lot lizards to keep you warm at night.
Oh, guys.
I'm literally
you,
just
you
gonna
guys have
get
no
up-
idea about the lot lizards. Don't speak that evil out loud. It will show up at your door.
Kind of like the Wendigo or
Yeet
something
says
like
they're
that.
pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, my dad is an over-the-road truck driver, and every summer he would take me out as a teenager. You know, I was younger than David Brady is now. And you get the fat lady that comes up and starts knocking on your door. You want me to give you one, baby? One what? Syphilis? Gonorrhea? What are we talking about here?
Oh Lord, that finally explains that explains a lot about Tower Power Hour. Is that how you got? Reed? Did you, Jose? Did you just go like knock up on his window one night when he just parked at a truck stop and be like,
They lot lizard him.
"Come and join me"?
No, we actually got him in the early days when he was very like. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's still like kind of is sort of like the Liberty Uni stuff, but like he was really pushing it. And this is when he first kind of came to the scene, and Dave kind of like sort of introduced him to the scene. And a lot of us, especially Tower guys, were kind of like, "Look at this fucking faggot," and like, and then we talked to him, and we kind of was like, "Okay, I can kind of see what you're getting at a little bit." Like yeah, you're saying unity, but it's like you can also like there is like a little bit of a not unity with everybody type stuff. It's unity that with people who will unify type deal. If you won't, then fuck you. And you know, so and we kind of like started getting along with him more, and we realized that he was a little bit more based than we thought he was. So
Plus, he's an excellent person to hang out with, especially when people are weird and nervous about coming up to meet him. It's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like when he was on Kennedy, like he straight up looked like a homosexual.
Oh, that was not his best hair.
Yeah,
going on
like
that.
the comb over, and like it looked like he should have an earring in his ear. Like it just looked like he should just have one in just this ear while he was on the show. And then Kennedy's just trying to make these jokes about like truckers. And then like I don't remember what it is, and like she said that she knew it knew one term he used because of a movie, and he's like, yeah, like sorry Kennedy, that wasn't funny in the slightest.
yeah, he did good. And I will say, I'm saying my boy, he didn't look like a homosexual. He just looked like a country boy that's not used to dressing up and then has to dress up, and it's like, well fuck, what do I do? Like, I'll put some water in the hair.
I'll pull the
and
Ricky
comb it.
Bobby. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
I
also, if a
don't know
country
what to
boy
do with
be-
my hands.
But also, if a country boy became gay, that's what he would look like too. Just kidding.
Only if he sounds like Mr. Slave from South Park. Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, is the unity movement kind of dead, or
I don't know. It depends on how you look at it, really. I guess. Like, I mean,
the push for it probably is? But
I
I mean,
mean,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of the same thing. It depends on your perspective. Like, I'm not a Libertarian Party guy. I'm sure we've all talked about this before. But to put it in
as an
perspective, like,
agorist.
yeah, as an agorist, but to put it in perspective of like the Libertarian Party, like the Mises Caucus guys will like say it's a takeover, but then they'll like on the other breath be like, but we'll unify with whoever. Those seem like opposing concepts, but they're kind of not, because if you really think about it, it's kind of like, if anything, one of my criticisms is they don't really lean on the takeover enough. They should be, if anything, more
Oh
exclusive.
yeah, they should.
Yeah,
like no
we-
holds barred should be
Yeah.
just kicking people out of the damn party. as
Like I know we
quickly
had
as
that
possible.
they had that thing with that Rod Strep guy that they were going to have for vice chair, and I get it. It's an inconsequential position, but it's like you're already kind of like opening the door a little bit, and not a good look. So if anything, I think they probably are giving too much. But you could still be like, from their perspective, it's like, okay, here are our basic values, and if you want to unify with that, we would love it. I mean, like you guys can, but if not. Yeah, fuck you. Like I don't like so like that is unity in a way, but it's like unity with some with a little bit of a caveat, you know. Like so,
It's true.
Join us or die in this party. That's essentially
Yes.
what it feels like.
Yeah, I think even Michael Heiss was the one to say, it was like, look, we're going to do this, this, and this, and if you don't like it, this isn't going to be the party for you.
Yeah.
Kind of put it on them. It was like, if you're going to stick around, you need to be on board. Otherwise, get out. Go somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
and then I will say on like the flip side, Minnesota, like we literally, fingers crossed, but we just all work together. We don't give a shit which caucus or where you're from or whatnot. It's pretty. I mean, as long as you agree with like the basic tenets of libertarianism, we're pretty cool with each other. And I've even talked to people who aren't in the Mises Caucus and about why they're not in the Mises Caucus. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
we can unify. It's not really a big deal in Minnesota. Now, if you're talking like Delaware or New Hampshire, it's like people are freaking nuts on the other side, So
Yeah, if I'm gonna put on my party hat and say what you should do if you're a party guy, I think that's fine, like at that level. But now when you get to a point where you're like appointing people in positions of like actually, being some sort of face of the party, yeah, if you're someone who has stances like, oh yeah, we're all for friggin', I don't know, gun control or
enforce the current
or
gun
whatever,
control.
like then it'd be like, what? No, like sure, you can go back at the lower level and do whatever and kind of just be this guy who kind of, I don't know, knocks on doors or whatever the hell. But if you're like supposed to be some sort of like, chair of a state party or some sort of like the treasurer of the national or whatever, it's like if you're some sort of face that's like people directly identify. I mean, sure, yeah, that definitely shouldn't be a thing. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
Rod Strepp is a no-go for me. I don't think
Yeah.
he's even gotten the Mises endorsement, but they were kind of toying with it, and I was,
yeah.
I can't.
Well, even I think what they were kind of planning on doing is my read on it. I might be a little wrong because we're a little bit time removed from the situation. It seemed like they were either going to endorse him or not endorse him, but not endorse anyone, like not run anyone like Mises Caucus, which de facto is basically endorsing. So it's like no, you're letting this guy have it. There's no reason why you like, especially with the case of somebody like Josh Smith, like you literally have a guy that is your dude who's like, I'll do this. And I get it. There are probably arguments why maybe Josh isn't perfect in some ways and like, being a busy guy, whatever arguments you want to give. Sure, there's some credence to that, but it's still better than essentially a subversive element within your group. So like, I mean, someone who has the right ideas is better than someone who's going to be a face of the party who has the wrong ideas. So
Yeah, I was hanging out with the chair of the Minnesota party after like a campaign thing for Nate Atkins. He ran for mayor. Back there on the poster board there, I point him out sometimes because I got one of his brochures. But we were hanging out after going around waving signs, handing out papers and stuff. And the way he kind of looks at it is that it's essentially the Mises Caucus is fighting over a big pile of dog shit, and he doesn't care what happens to it. Because Minnesota hates National. In fact, Minnesota censured National for kicking out Karen Ann Harlos right after they booted
As
her.
they should.
I will say though, anytime someone says somebody's censored, I immediately just go in my head, I don't care, because censoring means nothing. It's just bureaucratic waste of time. That's all it is. Or censure. Yeah. It's literally means nothing. It's just.
It was a voted no confidence, which is way more cool. But yeah, that's the great thing about the Minnesota chair is he hates National, so he doesn't do anything with National, and I think that's kind of why we're pretty chill in Minnesota, because we don't give a shit about National.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Minnesota's pretty great, but I do want to ask you, Jose. You're an agorist. You're all for take non-political means to become free and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm not a big into agorism. I checked in to kind of troll you and Caleb when you read through Akonkin's books. But why not New Hampshire? Why not New Hampshire? Like,
what do you mean by why not New Hampshire? Like in a political sense, or like the free state project?
Like it's like in the like if New Hampshire is pretty much objectively the freest state, why not go to New Hampshire? Why Florida?
Wait, why do I live in Florida? Is that the question essentially?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I live in Florida because this is where I happen to be. Like when I say things to people, like I don't even necessarily think this is essentially a de facto agorism point or not either, because agorism is more like counter economics. I guess maybe you could make some sort of case that like movement like is like sort of a non-political like I don't know, but whatever. You're kind of doing a little bit of gymnastics there. I don't necessarily think it's not even agoristic or not agoristic. It's just, I think it's just kind of a smart thing to do, is to move to places that are more beneficial for you. Because you can even just look at that from an individualistic perspective. Like, what is better for your life? Is it to be in this city, or is it to be in this rural area, or is it to be in this red state, or is it to be in this state that's a little bit better than the other states? But I just so happen to be in Florida. So I'm not, when I tell people this, I'm not trying to be condescending and be like, ha ha ha, like, I'm in Florida, you peasants, you guys are stupid. Like, no, I got lucky. I just so happened to be in Florida. Like, if like, say Florida wasn't the state, say it was Georgia, I still probably wouldn't be in Georgia. Like, it'd just be a matter of, like, my financial situation doesn't allow for it. But it's a matter of, you know, where you are in your current predicament and moving with baby steps to a better predicament. Because I think a lot of people here, you know, people say free staters or people who are standing for Florida and being like, you need to move to these places. And what they hear is, you have to, like, you need to do that. And like, and then a lot of people, it kind of comes off the same thing as like Pete Buttigieg with the gas prices in the electric car. Because a lot of people are like, what? Like, you want me to go just buy? Oh yeah, I'll just move across the country. I'll sell my house. I'll quit my job. I'll do all this shit. And it's like, no, like, yeah, like, obviously we're telling you this is preferable. If this is not what you can do, like, it's within what is your ability, and you can. There's always usually baby steps you can make towards it. So let's say you're in Cali and you're in a city. Like, I think it's a little ridiculous to expect the normal middle class guy or whatever to just be like, especially if they have roots laid down, to be like, oh, just move to New Hampshire, move to Florida. And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe that's not reasonable, but you know what might be reasonable for them? Maybe it might be reasonable for them to move into the country, or like, you know, 30 minutes south of wherever they're at, where there's a little bit more of a rural area, and it'll probably be a little bit more amenable to the type of lifestyle they would like to have. And I think that, you know, there is something to concentration when it comes to, like, you know, furthering liberty, which is, but I also think incentives kind of drives things that way too. So it's kind of cool. I like the Free State Project. I do think it does sometimes come off as a little bit wonky. I think Kaufman's been a lot better about the messaging, and he's kind of seems to be expressing a lot. What I'm kind of saying is that, like, I think if you're saying Free State, that's it, Free State, I think you're a fucking idiot. Like, if you're just the one that, like, well, you don't care about liberty because you won't move to New Hampshire or whatever. No, you're an asshole. But now, I think you should be moving towards liberty to the best as you can within your means. So if that means moving to a rural area, if that means moving to a red state, if that means moving to Florida, if that means moving to New Hampshire, you have to evaluate your subjective, you know, values, what you value, and then also what you can do, and go from there. So I was already in Florida. I mean, I have been moving my life a little bit more, you know, counter economically as time has gone on. I'm still not exactly where I want to be, but I'm moving that way over time. You know, so it's the same idea with that. You know, a lot of people accuse agorists and the same thing as, like, the free staters of being these binary thinkers of, like, well, you must go live in the woods and you must have ammo and you must grow your own things and sell weed or whatever. It's like, no, there's a million different ways to do it. And no one's saying you have to be 100% all in the black market or whatever. It's the same idea. I think, I mean, there are some free staters who do kind of come off as the sort of like they are expressing the binary choice. But I do think it should be more of like a spectrum of, like, hey, this is where you should be trying to move towards. Because I actually think if you could somehow flick a switch and get all of the liberty-minded people into New Hampshire, I actually think that'd be a fucking disaster. I think that's how you get a civil war. But now if you have a decentralized, rough, loose organization of libertarians, either kind of more or less centralized in some areas and less in others, but it's kind of almost like a lot of us are crypto nerds. I don't understand it so well, but almost like nodes, you know, kind of loosely connected, but with some sort of loose formation, like an underground railroad for liberty, essentially. Then yeah, that'd be great. Like that's an entity that the state just cannot take down. It's like insurmountable for them. But now if you're all in one centralized location, that is an entity they can take down. So yeah, it's a little bit different. Like decentralization, that's why it's such a catchy word. It comes off a little bit cheesy sometimes, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah, and even in my podunk town here in Louisiana, I've been talking with a lot of the people, and I kind of made them aware of the fact that, you know, our city council doesn't have districts, and everybody who's on the city council are all related to each other, and they all live on the same street. And once I put it to them like that, they're like, oh, well, no, that's got to change. You know, and they're like, yeah, we can't have that.
I do want to add something. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you can do little small baby steps like that.
Yeah, and
Even if you're just kind of waking up your little area that's only got a few thousand people in it.
And even though while I just said there are preferable things, I'm actually not even saying that New Hampshire is the ideal preference. Like if I had my druthers and was in a financial spot where I could do everything I wanted to do, I actually wouldn't move to New Hampshire. I would actually move to Tennessee where my family is, where we live kind of in the hills. Not exactly in the hills, but it's more of a rural area. I have a lot of family. I have a family support structure. It's a rural area in Tennessee, so kind of a reddish state. So like, yeah, there are more things in the world than just pure liberty. And even then, I would actually make the argument that roughly what I have there in a certain sense is more liberty than, if I didn't have a family structure in New Hampshire and just like, I guess maybe you could find some situation in which I would, but because especially being in the country and in a state where you hardly ever see cops, like, out in the backwoods, like, okay, we're kind of, if you're comparing that to like New Hampshire or something, okay, we're kind of splitting hairs at that point. Like, yeah, sure, you can be like, technically the state at a state government level is, preferable, but you're like, okay, cool. But if I live in the sticks, it kind of doesn't fucking matter. So, yeah. So
lots of anarchists up in them there hills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that would be my move. If I would actually, my ideal for me, that's kind of why I mentioned subjective values, because that is a thing, especially like with my subjective values of what I value, I would prefer to be in Tennessee if I could be anywhere. But and even then, I actually probably still prefer Florida over New Hampshire, just because I do have some roots here. And, there is something to the whole blood and soil thing Jeff Dice has said, that he's gotten shit for. There's something to that,
Yeah.
So, and I have more blood and soil in Tennessee than here. So
there's a meme I always tell people: it's reasons to live in Minnesota, and it just says family.
Yeah,
the only reason,
Which, you know what? That's more important than liberty, in my opinion.
Yeah. So Jose, you had Dave Smith and Sal Mayweather on your podcast, and they did a debate. What did you think of that?
I do want to real quick say I set it up as a conversation, because that's one thing, and I made sure when I promoted it to always say that
conversation.
Yeah, but no, I'm not even giving you shit, because I got multiple people hating on me, being like, "Oh, you kept like cutting in and like, and this wasn't even really like a good debate or whatever," and like you marketed it as a debate. Like, no, I didn't. The only thing you could say maybe was marketed as a debate was Top Lobster's thumbnail of it, which you could kind of like, it was like face to face, and then me in the middle, which like I guess you could be like, "Oh, I interpret a debate from that," but even then, we're having a conversation about something we disagree upon. Like, but I wanted to approach it more from a conversation. Like, got a little bit heated at moments. I
thought it was a great episode.
I thought it was good. I love Sal, but this is kind of my point. I even brought up to him that like some of his argumentation isn't the best route to go, and he's kind of says, well, maybe I'm a little more diplomatic. I think me and him are a little bit different in our like how we come at it. He tries to make the moral argument for agorism, and like, unless you're like morality is insanely intertwined with consequentialism somehow, I cannot even wrap my head around the moral argument, which I was actually trying to give him the chance to explain that. I still just can't wrap my head around it. Like, because I don't think there's anything necessarily immoral by voting or political action, because I do kind of take the Lysander Spooner take of that, like, in your head, you see this as like, hey, my property's at stake here. I'm being put in a situation to where I, have a say in it. It's going to happen one way or the other. I just, as an agorist, I would make the point that, like, generally speaking, most times those don't actually end up working out to your favor, even if you do vote one way or the other. Like, it's like you're just in the long run just going to make it worse by like, kind of feeding into that whole situation. So, but at the end of the day, I don't see any necessary immorality in doing it. Like, I don't know.
So how would you define agorism?
How would I define agorism? I guess it's kind of just generically like counter economics. But it's, I don't know. I always get sprung on this. I need to come up with a good catchy explanation for it. It's just it's kind of living against the state or trying to kind of start putting more your ideas into practice kind of deal. It's also a little bit of a mindset in a lot of ways too. It's like just. Like a lot of us, being libertarians, we still have this weird kind of apprehension about like breaking the law or whatever, or like but it's like it's about a mindset, and it doesn't have to be it can literally, like, I like using the example of like the CEO. Like I think it's I want to say it's Warren Buffett, or is that the singer? Which one's the billionaire?
Warren Buffett is the billionaire who eats
Okay,
ice
Warren
cream.
Buffett.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know there was a story for a while where he would literally
Jimmy
not
Buffett
pay-
is the singer.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. I always mix up the two. But there was a story, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, but there was a period of time where he just straight up wasn't paying taxes at all. And the reason why is because he found he could make, with his, sound investing and such, he could make more money off of that, like whatever money he was going to give to the IRS, than the fees they would give him for not paying them. So like, and that is like a sense kind of like an agorist mindset, because it's like, you're literally just weighing the pros and cons and you're pushing it to the limit. And I think there was a certain point where they really just got on him like hard enough. I don't know what they did, but they're like, come on, like, you can't do this. And I don't know if they just started ratcheting up the fines. He got to a point to where the cons out benefit the pros. It's like, okay, all right, I'll back off. But you like think about how much like tax skirting he got after that, how much he fed into the economic production of the United States as opposed to the predation, like in that period of time. Like,
well, corporations do that every year anyways, because taxes to them is just a cost input, and they just put that in the manufacturer's suggested retail price at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, so it's more of a mindset, like I mean, especially for libertarians, just more just getting in that mindset. And then the opposite end, like one thing Konkin likes to talk about a lot too, would be like your people who do, essentially commit crimes, but they don't have any sort of philosophical backing behind it. Like say somebody who's like a drug dealer, and like they're just selling drugs because they want to sell drugs, and you can kind of explain to them like, oh, well, this is kind of sound entrepreneurial stuff you got going on here. Maybe be a little bit more mindful so you don't get caught. Blah 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 blah. There's different ways to do it. Like. Everyone knows with my cat business, obviously I'm going to proceed everything here with, everything's a joke for legal reasons, but like, let's just say, for example, I had this business, obviously all this stuff. I give people cats and they give me a gift in return. Sometimes it's cash, and it being a gift, it's non-taxable, but you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I mean, you gotta be smart too. Cause like, especially with stuff like Venmo and stuff like that, if it's over a certain amount, they will like pull taxes of it. So, you just do what you can, and you figure ways to kind of dip and dodge around the state. And, it's just more of a mindset thing. And it's not even that I'm saying, once again, to bring up the binary thing, no one's saying you have to like be in a binary. Like no one's saying, like say with the Warren Buffett example, like he should, if he got to a point to where, and he kind of did, to where the government was leveraging enough force against him to where it was no longer beneficial to continue to not paying his taxes, then yeah, it makes sense at that point to be like, all right, well, I'll just pay the taxes and then maybe find a different avenue that I can kind of push it on, and the more people start doing that, the more you kind of sort of, push back a little bit in certain ways and also open up avenues for actual legit economic production. And yeah, that was my spiel.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, that was an interesting one. A good description of agorism. But I know we've been focusing.
Description.
I mean, hey, it's better.
It's not
than
very
what,
concise. I need to come up with a good concise one because none of them really are very good concise. It's kind of like it's asking what agorism is in some ways is kind of like asking what like objectivism is, because because
not going to be able
agorism
to
is
define it in 180 characters.
Agorism is this ideology that Samuel Edward Konkin III kind of roughly made, sort of. So yeah, and it's the same idea. So it's like, what is agorism? What is it? It's kind of what Konkin said to some extent, and that's not to say I'm some like religious follower of Konkin. If I have disagreements, I have disagreements. Whatever. It's just that's the most apt. The rough belief system going on there, or not belief system, or whatever you want to call it. That's kind of sort of where I'm at. If I ever change, I won't use that as a descriptor of me. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of hard to just be like, exactly what is it? And that was actually, I think, a crux of some of the issue with the Dave Smith Sal episode is there is a lot to kind of, break down. There was a lot of stuff we got bogged down in that was like, obviously just kind of, different interpretations or of certain things and stuff like that. Like I know we got bogged down in like the wage slavery thing and shit like that in the episode. There was a few other sticking points where it's like we were just almost kind of starting talking past each other. But it would have been nice if it had been a longer episode. But at the same time, somebody like Dave Smith, you get him. You're not like, hey, you want to do can we do 2 episodes, or can we make this a 4-hour? Like, what are we doing here? You got to respect his time a little bit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, just send them out like the definitions ahead of time, and just like check the ones that you agree with.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that debate though. It was fun.
Yeah, it was good. I mean,
thanks for hosting it.
Yeah, no. I mean, and hopefully maybe one day I'll get to have a similar conversation with Dave of my own, because I do think me and Sal come at it from different perspectives, which if you watch that episode, you can kind of see where we kind of differ a little bit. And maybe it's a matter of just like emphasis, although I don't agree with his moral argument at all. And I've told him this. I cannot even wrap my head around it. And it's weird that like that seems to be like the go-to. And I'm like, you have such a good practical argument. I think there's a decent practical argument to be made in certain ways.
Yeah.
So like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I just come down on agorism as it's just another tool that you can put in the toolbox. It's like not really a philosophy or anything. That's
counter-economics.
You just either do agorism or you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's actually kind of the misunderstanding too. Is that when people will say like stuff like that, that's a little bit of a misunderstanding, because agorism is the entire philosophy of a political philosophy of Edward Conkin, whereas something like counter-economics is what you're talking about. This is where people get caught up, because a lot of agorists will like really spurg out.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah.
A lot of people a lot of agorists will spurg out when they see somebody say something like that, and then this is where you get this point where people start talking past each other, because it's like you guys are disagreeing on terms, but then a lot of times people don't even really like argue those terms. So like they just are already just talking past each other, and it's like if you stood back a second, like whoa, like you're defining it this way, I'm defining it this other way. Like here's the disagreement here. And that's where a lot of it comes from, because you'll see people would be like, well, why can't we just do both? And you're like, well, okay, well, agorism is very specifically anti-political, very specific. Like it's kind of a big deal in it. like he made an emphasis on that. So
yeah. See, my biggest criticism with agorism is that it feels like the argument that it feels like the argument that the state will eventually just like break apart because of your non-compliance with it almost feels a little bit like the whole communist thing, where they're like, the state, once we implement socialism, the state will wither away around us, and then we'll reach our anarcho-communist world. And it feels like that, and I just find it so hard to buy into these worldviews that are just like imply that the state's just going to wither away without you taking proactive action against it.
Yeah, that is a somewhat fair. I'm actually reworking right now. Me and Sal are actually doing a live reading series of New Libertarian Manifesto where he covers that aspect of it. I've already done an agorist primer with Caleb Brown, and it doesn't really go much into that book, that idea of what you're getting at. And from what me and Sal are like right there, so we're about to go through it again. So obviously, if this was like a week or two from now, I'd be able to give you a clear idea of like, oh yeah, I just read that. I could tell you for sure. But at least for me, I mean, if Conkin is characterizing it in that specific way of this, like altogether, it's just going to magically transform the state. I somewhat disagree with him in a certain sense, but I'm not entirely sure that's how he is characterizing. I think it might be a matter of perspective, because I do think agorist action, and this kind of plays into what I was talking about earlier with the kind of moving towards your incentives, acting your incentives, in relation to like the Florida, New Hampshire, or moving to rural areas, moving to red states, where you kind of create this underground, decentralized liberty network, if you will. Like, especially once you start engaging in the counter economics, you start creating like sort of like, especially as it develops, this is how economics works. You'll have more trade routes, whatever, that it might be slightly more counter economically, whether that's a gray market, fully black market, and it will push back on the state in some regards. When I say that, am I saying that like the state is going to like, we're going to kind of have a communist, it's going to be a revolution? And this is one thing. He does call it the agorist revolution. I'm not entirely sure it will be this like flip of a switch and we take over the whole United States. But I think in the future, there probably will be areas that are more agoristic or more liberty prone. But I think on the flip side, and I've kind of incorporated some of Popular Liberty's thoughts on this when it comes to like his archotropism idea. I do think there is something when you're talking about like power or whatever, there is kind of this like, when you have like more liberty in one area, you tend to have more authority in another. So I do think in the future we will see more liberty-minded areas, but then we're also going to see other areas that are more authoritarian. So we'll end up having a state where simultaneously existing, you have kind of exactly what the Florida people want it to become, or what New Hampshire is kind of projected to become. But on the other hand, you also have the Californias of what exactly everyone thinks it's going to become. So you end up having these simultaneous things at the same time. So in a certain sense, you can make the case that, there was an agorist revolution in this one area where you are seeing it. It kind of plays in this binary thinking that we kind of have. Because when we think of how things work, we're still very much trapped in this national paradigm that we're like, oh, the whole United States, we're going to like through agorism, we'll shut off the federal government, whatever. Like, sure, yeah, maybe kind of on like an individualistic basis or a localistic basis, but the idea that you're going to do as a whole nation, like, yeah, sure, theoretically over time, but like even that would be like way far off in the future. Like, and I don't even know about that. I mean, at the end of the day, all I really care about, yes, I do care if like other places see liberty. At the same time, like it gets to a point to where, say if California goes full on commie and Florida and New Hampshire kind of go where people sort of expect them to go, at a certain point, it's kind of a little bit on you if you're still like, I love this place over here in California. It's like, I get it. It gets harder and harder to get out. But, at a certain point, it's kind of like, okay, like it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Like, I mean, yeah, it sucks. You didn't move. I feel for you. But, like, I don't know. That is preferable. And I see things like agorism as being something that kind of drives things that way. So that was a little bit long-winded. If
you just think of the state as a cancer, and if you don't pay taxes, does that mean you're going to cure the cancer? But you can like minimize it, and like you can't tell me it doesn't do anything to do counter economics and stuff like that. And more people that do that, the better life is going to get for people all around.
Yeah, but, I mean, really, at the end of the day,
it'd be great if everyone just all of a sudden at once did that, and maybe with technology growing and cryptocurrencies, maybe something like that's in the future. Who knows? But like every little thing you can do, just do it.
Yeah, and the more people that start behaving in this entrepreneurial manner, the more it opens up other economic options for others. Like the common example used is things like crypto, things like people will even use example, and a lot of people will get like mad about this one, but like stuff like God, what's the one that took over the taxi one? Uber and Lyft and shit. And I get it; those aren't perfectly in the black market. They do have some governmental controls, whatever, that have seeped their ways in. They're very much gray market though. They busted up a lot of the taxi cartels. So it's still preferable to that system. And so once you start having people more operating in these areas, it kind of starts having people behave their incentives. And that's kind of in a lot of ways the beauty of actually utilizing our principles and incorporating them to the economic market. Because it's like, you don't necessarily say with the example of crypto. Yes, there are people who very much get into the economic theory or the political philosophy of how this could be useful. But a lot of people are just like, hey, number go up. Well, that's cool. Like, I can make money off this. Or, say some of the Uber Lyft example, like this is cheaper and more convenient than the taxi. Yeah, why wouldn't I do it? This is a no-brainer. And it kind of moves things that way. And the more people interact with it, and it very much is I feel like in a lot of ways, agorism is very much a like, go fucking do shit type ideology. And I think, and like, I don't want to dog on people in the political arena too much, but if you're going to do it, at least make sure you're prioritizing your personal situation over everything. The only time you really should be playing these political games is if you're in a point to where you're like, this is somehow like advent. Like, I don't know, you have so much free time on your hands. You don't have you can't better yourself or whatever. I mean, I guess if you get some sort of supreme value out of the interactions in it, sure. But even then, I would make the argument, I go to LP shit. I just don't do any other stuff. I just hang out. So like, you can do that. You don't have to do the other shit. So no one says you have to go knock on doors or whatever. Like if you're some broke 23-year-old and you're knocking on doors because you think it's that important, you know what's probably a little bit more important? Your own well-being, and maybe you should start interacting with the market. So, maybe that makes me an asshole, but it's a little bit true. That's not to say I'm like rich in a perfect economic situation, but I'm also not knocking on doors. So like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I understand that. I don't know. Agorism is an interesting animal, but again, we've been kind of talking a little bit about Jose's thing for a bit. So, Eric, why don't you tell us, what is Childerberg? What is it, my man?
Well, it's totally not a cult. I know what it looks like. Bunch of dudes hanging out in the woods somewhere, and they all start chanting about the vibe and everything. But yeah, it's totally not a cult. No, it's the answer to Porkfest, but in the South. So that's kind of the thing that we've been gearing it up to be, is the Porkfest version in Texas. So it's a Liberty event. It happens every year on Memorial Day weekend. So it's coming up this at the end of May. It's going to be at the Muleshoe Bend Recreational Area out in Texas. It's right outside Austin in a little town called Spicewood.
I see. So it's just like a little like wannabe Porkfest.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of starting that way, but soon, very soon, it will be bigger than Porkfest. That's the goal. So last year we had about 200 people show up. We had a nice little event out at the Iron Wolf Distillery. We had Robbie the Fire Bernstein out there giving a comedy. We had a couple of bands show up. It was pretty fun. Pretty fun.
I see. And like, what's with the? It's got the. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out the name of it. The jackalope thing for like the logo. What is that? Why? Just simply.
Yeah,
why?
that's the German version of jackalope. It's called a Volpinger. It's got horns, fangs, and bat wings. So it's we've always been kind of a little bit cryptid plus around Childerberg. So on the other shirt, I wish I would have grabbed it. We have like space aliens and glue and wine, of course, because Tasting Anarchy is another podcast that Jake Lindsay does, and he's the guy that's done all the logistics for it. This all started as a stupid joke from Car Camp It. So,
I mean, hey, man, great jokes can turn into terrible things like Tower Power.
yeah,
Yeah. But like the cryptid thing. I love cryptid stuff. Like, there's almost a part of me that almost wants to move to West Virginia just so I can wander around in the woods in the middle of the night.
West Virginia has so many. We've got the Flatwoods Monster. There's the Mothman.
Yeah,
Snallygaster.
Yeah, I remember as like a kid when I was like 12, I would just sit and I just watch videos about all these cryptids and just watch all this stuff for ages. Like, it's getting the shit out of myself, but I'd be scaring myself just watching this stuff, and I loved it so much. It was so fascinating.
Yeah. The sad thing is most of us grow out of it, you know. So like, you know, you're a perfect example of this, David. So you'll get there.
Yeah,
my kids ask me all the time why I'm like such a big fan of like cryptids and stuff. I was like, because it's nonsense and it's fun. Come on.
Yeah, have a little fun, people. It's like it doesn't have to exist kind of like economics, but you can enjoy it.
Yeah,
and there are some cryptids. You're like, okay, there's something to it. There's always like in your head, like there's at least like usually some story behind it, maybe some sort of truth. Especially when you're talking about stuff in like the ocean. Like, okay, there's some like legit possibilities there. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing. But then there is like the more time goes on, some of the cryptids become more unbelievable. Like say like Bigfoot, stuff like that. It's like obviously, okay, the woods has been like scoured. Like, how have there not been? But things like the ocean, you're like, I don't know. There could, like Loch Ness, I think they did a whole they've done multiple like full scans of all of like Loch Ness. I don't think they found anything. But like, you know, things that are like ocean bound things, you're like, I don't know. Giant squids were like, I don't even think wasn't until like the last century or so that even then it was still like
one actually got beached off of Florida.
Yeah.
The giant squid that just washed up on the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and those were things of legends forever. Like everyone would see the things of the big squids and think they were just bullshit. And yeah,
yeah. I just want all this stuff in West Virginia just to be real because I love it so very much. God, I remember when Adam Nutter was on the show a couple episodes back. We talked to him about like some of this stuff, and he mentions these like this missing code for people who go missing in state parks and how where all their locations are where they're eventually found line up perfectly with this cave system that goes underneath the United States. And that stuff's creepy, but God, I love it.
Yeah, the missing persons thing in state parks has been a thing for a while. There's one detective, I think it was like a former Chicago police detective, and he's kind of makes it seem like that's actually like the work of a serial killer. So,
I mean, hey, I've heard less ludicrous explanations for that sort of thing, man. I don't know. I just really enjoy the cryptid stuff. I don't know, man. I could just go on for ages just talking about it. You know what? We're going to West Virginia, guys. Pack your bags. We're going. I don't know. I could do it.
you're gonna start singing "Country Roads" for us?
Oh God, no. God, no. I don't know. So, guys, thoughts on Ukraine and what's going on there? What are your thoughts on like just the absurdity that is our politicians clamoring for a nuclear war?
War bad.
Well,
We're
yeah,
back
there's
there.
this big country, and it's next to this little country. Big country good, little country bad.
Did you see the
Wait,
video
I got
put
that
out by?
backwards.
Did you see the video put out by AOC today about no-fly zones?
Was
And
she
she actually
wearing
made
all white and crying in front of some gate or something?
No. She actually made
She
the
doesn't
case
care
that
about
putting
those
a
people
fly
anymore.
zone, a no-fly zone in place, is tantamount to a declaration of war. And then one of the Republicans like retweeted the video and says, "For everyone who is clamoring for no-fly zones, congratulations, you are now dumber than AOC."
I mean, it works. Oh man, did you see when Adam Kinzinger retweeted that Sam Hyde meme when it came to the Ghost of Kiev?
Samuel Hyde, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can't keep getting away with it. Yeah.
Jeez. It's just like, how dumb do you have to be to fall for that old joke, dude?
Or
Aren't you
showing like
isn't it-
footage from Arma 3 and saying this is the Ghost of Kiev.
Yeah, I just, Lord, like, just how stupid can our politicians be? Like, it almost makes me reconsider my notion that they're just evil and just think they might just be stupid.
No,
It
Jeff
might-
Dice,
both.
they're stupid and evil.
Yeah. Well, I think there's probably like something like 90+% of them that are stupid, and then like a lot of people that are like evil. And I like a lot of times equate this like how kind of like when I was in like active duty military, and how like I mean I don't know if I necessarily call it evil, but there are definitely people who are like power seekers and act through those incentives. And then you have a lot of stupid people who just kind of bumble their way into like positions of power. So and then what typically happens is the shittier ones are the ones who do all the dumb shit, the hoops you got to jump through to get like higher amounts of power, and they end up being the ones running the show. So, and then you end up with, you know, kind of a middle class of people who kind of suck, and then the elites are the ones who like, or are stupid, and then you end up with like the elites that are just kind of like, I mean, they're still not impressive people, but they're like at least people that acted their incentives, and those incentives are kind of what are apt to have shitty people. So, like, yeah.
Yeah. I just it feels like most of the politicians are just quite literally meat goblins to be controlled by people like Nancy Pelosi and like all of the higher ups, you know, Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, those types, you know, the ones that you hear about. Well, everyone else is just a meat goblin who's just told, listen to us, go along with our platform, be an obedient little serf or whatever, and help us become the, you know, children blood-sucking monsters that they are.
Meat goblins
Well,
is
I
what I
think-
call these hoes.
I think some of the evil is just that they don't care. So that's why they're incompetent, because they don't give a shit.
Oh, why not? They got a
There's a lot of that.
$40,000 refrigerator with $15 a pint ice cream in it. So
Yeah.
I know.
They're like honey badgers. They don't give a shit.
It's like all of these wars that go on, whether it be like Yemen or Russia, they don't care no matter the consequences of their actions, like how them arming literal Nazis in Ukraine. They don't care about the consequences for those actions. Like they think like there are innocent people who are hurt by these neo-Nazis, and albeit they're not all of Ukraine, I'll go out and just say that before someone decides to go at me for saying it. But they ignore the basic consequences of their actions, that innocent people get hurt because hey, it helps them get their friends in power.
I just love how we had like the war on terror, and we just killed a bunch of people and did nothing productive, and then we had like the whole COVID thing, and now we're having this, and it's just kind of like the destiny of libertarians to watch the world as they just kind of fall for the next thing every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've often said that whenever the government wages war on something, get ready because you're about to get way more of that thing. So when we had the global war on terrorism, we had terrorists like springing up out of the woodwork because of all the interventions and everything. You know, we had a war on poverty from Johnson. We got way more poverty than there was in the country before. You know, war on drugs. Now we got a whole bunch of new drugs and dangerous drugs because people are cooking the shit up in their bathrooms. So, yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
government
how's that
equals
for your
bad.
Counter economics, Jose.
say what?
How's that for your counter economics? Making stuff in your bathtub.
I mean, as long as you're churning out good product, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I always taste test my shit, you know.
It's like, yeah, this is baby diuretics. We don't. I'm not going to snort this.
Yeah.
You know, it almost makes me wonder. So you know how difficult it is to get a constitutional amendment? How'd they get a constitutional amendment of all things to outlaw alcohol? Like, how much work did those crazy women put in to get alcohol
Molly
made
Hatchet and the
illegal?
temperance movement.
That's all the dudes are at war. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 19th Amendment and its consequences for mankind.
Yeah. Now, if we
like
took if we took Murray Rothbard's theory of the how you own your children and we extended it to women, it would solve so many problems.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
It solves
I wanna hear that
rape.
theory
It solves
sometime.
solves like molestation, all that stuff. It all just becomes property violations and way more easier to understand.
Yeah. You bring it before the a mediator or an arbitrator, and they totally know what to do with it. It was like, oh, well, this is obviously you used this property without permission. So
Yeah. What's the going rate for a woman of your wife's caliber? And this is what we will recompense you for the man who cheated with your wife.
we'll bring in 3 madams from the local brothels to determine your wife's value per hour. Am I even having this conversation right now? What the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, David is a minor, guys.
We're libertarians though. We're all okay with child labor and
Okay.
working in the mines.
Yeah.
You know, the coal mines, right?
It's an implicit
did you-
consent because I'm on the show. He asked me
Yeah,
to be
I did-
here. So
Yeah. Have
Yeah,
you seen? Did you
Thaddeus
see that
Russell
one?
wouldn't care.
Did you see that one meme where that person tweeted out, between their love of Minecraft and caves, children yearn for the mines. We need to re-legalize child labor.
I mean, yes, but also at the same time, no.
I don't know.
I'm cool with child labor. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Listen, man, you send your kid to go in the mines. I don't care.
Everyone who has been in a Chinese restaurant in the United States has seen child labor up close and personal. So
If anyone thinks if you legalize child labor, kids would start going to the mines en masse, you obviously haven't met kids. Like, part of the reason why they don't go in the mines is because we don't have the economic necessity for it anymore to that extent. Sure, maybe there'll be some poor kids going to the mines, but you know what? If they're in a situation where they're going to the mines, it's probably because their family really fucking needs it. Like, so who are you to be like, yo, you can't go in the mines? Like, okay, well, I'm going to starve, so...
Who's
Do
saying
you ever
can't
think
go
about
in the
that?
mines?
Like, 200 years ago or whatever, like my kids would be in a mine, and it's like, you would not survive, kid.
no,
Like, you don't listen to me. Like, can you imagine? Like,
NGMI.
it'd be like
not
a
gonna make it.
full-time. It'd be like a full-time job, being like, no, pick up the coal, put it in the bucket, tie your shoes, go get. Dad.
Can I go back on my cell phone? Bro, the canary just died.
Yeah. I was playing one of the Assassin's Creed games. It was the one that was set in England in like the 1870s. So right at the Industrial Revolution. And like the opening scene shows like this kid getting crushed by this huge iron wheel. And my son was looking and was like, well, why is a kid there? I was like, dude, everyone was poverty stricken. That kid had to be there. Otherwise they didn't eat.
Yeah. No, and it's like, I don't know, it's weird too. Like, I worked manual labor, like construction and landscaping all through high school as a kid. So it's like, I don't know, like how much is the mines really that much worse than like literally roofing or like framing or, being out weed eating for 12 hours a day? Like, I mean, how much worse is it really? I mean, I've never worked in a mine. I mean, it's a kind of a genuine question. I don't know. I have a hard time believing it's that much worse. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, so
And even when I was looking into it, like the child labor, I mean, all of the adults kind of knew that a kid can't really do much as far as the physical labor
Yeah.
part. So, I mean, they were put on jobs like, sweeping up, going to go fetch, that kind of stuff. I mean, they weren't really put into too dangerous a situation.
Useful job skills. Like,
yeah.
Like, instead, now you have guys who are like 18, 19, 20 that like maybe start working on job sites, and now they're the gopher bitch. Like, go for this tool, go for that tool. All right, clean up the job site. Whereas it used to be the 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. And then once they started getting to high school, they could actually start having some skilled work, start learning a trade because they've gotten past the basics. I mean, like, I don't know. It is. I mean, I guess maybe it's a little bit of an old-timey thought, but it's like, is that really that bad? Like, I mean, obviously, if you're in a situation where your kids don't need to do that, that's great. But, and also when I was a kid, like, it's not like I needed the money. I just did it because I wanted to. So.
Yeah, I started working at 14. I guarantee you, everything I learned working at a McDonald's was 5 times more beneficial than half the crap they teach me in a public school.
Yeah. And now you know why Praxis exists. So.
Yeah. And I love just when Jordan Peterson was on Joe Rogan recently, and he's like talking about like working in like sweatshops and trying to like make the argument for sweatshops, and it just feels like it's out of nowhere for Jordan Peterson. You see people tweeting about it.
Oh, we gotta put them in the sweatshops, and they're all cleaning their room in the morning so they can go out and slay the dragons.
Yeah, and it's just, and then also like a lot of those statistics they use for like child labor, like most of those people are just kids who were working on their farms.
Sam was getting accosted by lot lizards, so he had to move, and we lost him.
Yep.
They caught up to him.
Rest in peace, soldier.
You will be missed.
Yeah. But like most of those kids, a lot of those kids were probably just farm laborers who worked on a farm with their family. And it wasn't like they were working in the coal mines, digging up stuff. It's not like even in the coal mines that they were digging up stuff. They can't they don't have the physical strength to do that.
Yeah, but we just, hear those two words together, child labor, and then we just automatically assume the worst. So
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Media has done a good job brainwashing everybody. So.
I love the hissy fit that everyone threw after the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire tweeted about that. It's like it's
good old Jeremy Coffin.
Sorry, guys. It's literally on the Libertarian Party platform.
It was pretty genius, really. I know a lot of people give him shit for it. And a lot of people even still to this day are very much like, they've kind of like backed off a lot in their criticisms. But like even some like a lot of people like the Mises Caucus, like, I don't know, that's a little too hard. And I'm like, nah, dude, that was fucking beautiful. Like if you're playing this party game, like if anything, my only hope, my best case scenario for the Libertarian Party, like it would be to go so friggin' hard that they get like basically forcibly disbanded by the government. And you know what? Then you still have this loose camaraderie of people, and you've kind of now you're operating.
Talk about a sales tool.
Yeah, I think that would be
like amazing. We went so hard in the paint, we got banned by the government.
Yeah. And I don't mean by being like insanely.
Well, I mean, every time we go over the top in that sort of direction, we just blow up, and like nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
So why not do it more?
It's like,
I don't know.
Even down here in Louisiana, one of my buddies, Keith Thompson, he was the media guy, and he put out this tweet, and it was just like the Libertarian Party logo, Libertarian Party of Louisiana, and it goes, re-legalize recreational cocaine. And that Facebook post got so many views and likes. We sold a ton of T-shirts off of it. Got some media interviews.
Really?
It was like, what do you mean cocaine? Because everyone's like,
cocaine.
Make the weed legal and everything, but we kind of went a little bit hard, and they got a lot of eyeballs on us. So,
I mean,
nice, I'll have to try that.
Yeah, and then they did that little, and then the New Hampshire did that little billboard with Biden at the Hitler stash, I believe, and that got them a ton of attention. And people are just whining about it. It's like they're 5 times more productive. They get 5 times the interaction that LP National ever has.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, when was the last time you saw people talking about what the National Libertarian Party has tweeted out? And I even see like a lot of the Mises Caucus, like the Mises Caucus Twitter itself. It feels a little bit lukewarm, considering that like I see New Hampshire all the time. It's just, I don't know. I like New Hampshire's method. They're like actually radical.
Yeah, you got to take the piss out of everybody. That's what you got to do.
It also really helps it let you know who it is like a bad faith actor. So yeah. All right, guys.
Sam finally had to drop.
You made a good point. You made a good point. That last point, like, I know I've said many times, like, with the I'm not a big party guy, but if you're gonna play this game, like, yeah, this whole idea that we need to be amenable to everyone, like, no, like you with something like the child labor thing, it allows you to identify the bad actors. It also allows you to create this shining beacon for those who do identify with you. Like, holy shit, look at this guy, and it's like, I mean, I don't know. For example, like, even with my own Twitter, like, I mean, I don't do it as much as often, but every now and then, like, if I have like a spicy take that I know a lot of people will like, especially if something can be interpreted multiple ways, and I will look for the people who interpret the bad way and come at me in a certain way, and I'll just block them, because it's like, oh, you were essentially given a choice. I can't think of one that comes to mind right now, but I guess the child labor thing works well, because it's like, if you immediately are coming at someone cross for that, you took the worst possible interpretation. Like, you just did, like, and you are already operating this operandus mundi or whatever, of like, oh, this is how I behave, and it's like, I don't have anything to do with you until you can straighten that up. Like, I mean, especially like on something like Twitter, where it's like it's quick and fast interactions. You don't have the time to be like, well, you know what? Like, I'm gonna interact with this guy. You know, we'll have a long, drawn out Facebook argument type style, and be like, oh, well, okay, well, this is why you think that way. Like, no, you don't have time for that stuff when you're dealing with sort of mass.
I'm not your Google. You can look that shit up yourself. Yeah.
You like either block, ignore, or ridicule the people who come at you in bad faith, and the people who disagree with you that do it in a good faith manner. Those are people you can still like keep around, interact with, maybe even explore why they think that way. Maybe you learn something from it, and then obviously the people who agree with you, you found your family. Like, that's kind of I think the way to interact.
I do that with my in real life lefty progressive friends.
Yeah. But no, for real too. If there are people in real life that are like always interacting with you in a bad faith way, why would you continue to interact with them? Like, why? Why are you so stuck on winning over this one person, and you could be redirecting your time to finding other people? You know what I mean? Like, at certain points, like, it's just a matter of maximizing your time, and also it's kind of having respect for yourself. Like, why would you want to surround yourself with people like that?
Yeah, you don't owe anybody your time. Yeah. And when I go after a blue check on Twitter, it's like, all right, I'm going to get blocked by that blue check. It's still going to be visible to those that follow that blue check. Yeah. You may see the thread and was like, oh, I wonder why that guy thinks that way.
Yeah, that's kind of like one thing that kind of came up in my like Pulpo, debate, if you call it, or whatever it was. Like, it's kind of like a lot of people give me shit. They could be like, oh, you guys, you go hard at some people, and but then you block like crazy. I'm like, yeah. But if that person blocked me, I entirely inspected that, and I wouldn't even care. Like, you're never going to find me complaining about blocking. Like, if I'm coming at someone some sort of way, I almost expect them to block me. Like, if at that point I'm intentionally kind of identifying like me as blatantly disagreeing with you, like, and we are not friends. Like, you're borderline the enemy if I'm coming at you.
Speaking of blocking, just block Nick Sarwark and get it over with, and don't let him infect your timeline.
Yes, these are ways.
I got blocked by him. That was the goal, man. I just wanted to get blocked by him.
That's an achievement. I think I had blocked him long before he had a chance to block me. So,
yeah, man, I'll take it. I will take the Nick Sarwark block, and I ratioed him in the process. So, it works, man. It works.
Now my next target is Brianna Coyle. Just block it and move on.
She blocked me a long time ago.
Dude, I got blocked for, like, I've come at Brianna for just stupid things before. And like hostile, like, and like I've tweeted, like, it's clearly a hostile response. Like when I tweet, like, some of her really stupid and terrible takes, and then I give like a very reasonable response to her saying something about like the COVID stuff and how if that brought you over and not the murdering of black people, then you probably should reconsider yourself. And I'm just like, for most people, they don't see cops as simply doing their jobs. Like, that's the paradigm that most people think in. And the COVID regime is just a massive like upheaval of what are social norms. It's going to be much more blatant tyranny to the average person. And so I hit her with that, and she blocks me for it.
Yeah, and at this day and age, if we're worrying about over policing, then you're not paying attention to what else is going on out there. I mean, there was some big time violations of everybody's rights during the COVID tyranny crap. And yeah, if that's what your takeaway, and you know, and I'm guilty of it because I have a taxation is theft bumper sticker on my car. So, so I mean, I'm not going out there and just, you know, typing that in. It was like, oh, hashtag, by the way, taxation is theft. It's like, nobody cares about that argument anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So, guys, I think we should wrap it up here. It's been great having you guys on. Why don't you guys give us your plugs? Eric, you go first. Wrong way. Eric, you go first, then we'll go to Jose.
Yeah, so you can find me at RWAC Podcast, just like you see right down here. That's my Twitter handle. That's one of the social medias I go to the most. It's the same thing on Float if you're going to get over there. Also, you can find me on YouTube for the time being until I go full bore with Odyssey and everything else. And also, if you guys want to tune in for the audio streams, of course, I'm available on Anchor and every other conceivable podcatcher out there. I'm come to Childerberg at the end of May.
And I'm Jose Galison. My show is No Way Jose. You can find me on YouTube, all the major audio podcatchers, Odyssey as well. You can follow me at 2020 No Way Jose on Twitter. Things I'm promoting. I may or may not, I'm still kind of working it out, have some sort of debate between Stefan Kinsella and Friedman, David Friedman. I'm trying to figure out like kind of exactly where they're coming from so I can formulate a good resolution. I was supposed to do it this coming Tuesday, but I think I may actually see if Friedman will just, because I already did an episode with Kinsella, which was really good to kind of get where he's coming from when it comes to consequentialism versus deontology, like different bases of your, like it's ethical theories, essentially is what they're called.
Kind of how that episode today. It was great.
Yeah, it was a good one. There was a lot in there. I'm thinking about postponing the debate and doing a similar episode with Friedman so I can see where he's coming from so I can formulate a resolution. Because when you're dealing with these kind of deep things, it's very meta, it's very nuanced. So to come up with a fair resolution is kind of hard. You're like, it's not as simple as just.
Yeah, you can't just wing that one. You actually have to put some thought into it. So.
Yeah, so that's the thing I'm working on. So next Tuesday, I'll either probably have Friedman on or I'll have them both. I mean, if I somehow manage to come up with a really good resolution by then. But yeah, I mean, we brought up my Dave Smith episode I did a while ago. Working on a live reading series with Sal too right now. I have playlists for that. So my Anarchist Handbook episodes. I have an episode dropping with Tommy and Salmon soon, Voltaire and Declare. That'll probably drop on Tuesday. That was a really good one. So, but yeah, that's all I got. I'm droning on now.
Yeah, so of course Sam had to jump off, but you can follow him on Facebook. I guess I included the link to his Facebook in the channel in the video description. You can also follow him as Stay Classical on Twitter, although he doesn't tweet that much. For me, Twitter handles right there, Real David B Jr. You can follow me there. I'm working my way towards 1,000. I'm almost there, around 925-ish. Only joined in June, so I'm pretty proud of that. Help me join on my journey to get the Dave Smith and the Michael Malice follows. I'm working on it. So you can follow me there on Twitter. You can also follow me on Instagram. The link is down below in the description. David M. Brady Jr. You can follow me there. I don't know. I mostly post pictures of like scenery and my cat. I don't know. Sometimes my little sisters, if they do something that's kind of cute. I don't know. It depends. So you can follow me there. Also on Gab and Minds. I don't remember what my handles are there. I don't know. I don't really go on there much. I'm mostly a Twitter guy. If you want to support the show, you can also follow on Odyssey. It'd be great to have you there. And you can also support the show so that way we can upgrade the StreamYard. And there's none of that terrible StreamYard logo in the corner anymore. If you want to support and help upgrade the show, subscribe to the Patreon. Even if it's like just $2, $5 a month. If you can, help me make sure that we can have a decent Patreon a Patreon following, so that way I can upgrade the show. I don't know. I was just rambling there because I saw a comment. Jacob's like,
good old Jacob.
Undergrad for Tower Power Hour. Do it, Jose.
It doesn't come easy, Jacob. I've only been on once. Okay, just once.
I don't know. So yeah, I know. I talked with Caleb Brown, and he was like he wanted to go on and just hop on for just 5 minutes, just so he could say "screw you" to Jacob that he got on Tower Power Hour before he did. So I heard about that. But again, you can follow me on all those platforms. Support on Patreon if you would like to. Subscribe on Odyssey in case we said something that get us banned. You know, I gotta say it, adrenochrome, whatever. I just feel like I haven't made that joke in a while. Yeah, Jacob, you've been missing.
2 hours?
Jacob, you've been missing from Twitter. I miss you, man. Get more active there. I miss you, man. I know.
The joke is losing its luster. We're either gonna have to drop it or actually bring you on at some point. So it's the joke no longer is good. So that's the only way you can make the joke better. Either.
Yeah, but we're Liberty types. We will drive a joke into the ground, dig it up, and then drive it into the ground again.
Yes,
So-
we will
You'll
never
bring him
have
on when you're
Daniel.
12 shots in.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It was great having you here. I hope everyone chooses to support the show. It was great having you guys on. Check out their shows if you can. I don't know. Maybe Jacob's heard of your shows. Who knows? But thank you, guys. You guys have been wonderful.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. You